Okay, welcome everybody to the book launch. We're so glad to have everybody here today. I see some more people have come in the room. So welcome. So happy to celebrate Words and Elephants by Nolcha Fox. I'm going to start with Nolcha. I want to ask you some questions. And let me just change my screen. All right, Nolcha, I want to ask you what made you write this book, Words and Elephant? What inspired this book?
So this book was really a bunch of tiny poems that I wrote during the April 2022 National Poetry Writing Month. And I'm sure that all the people who provided the prompts for that time will probably never believe what they created.
Well, it's quite a lovely book, and if anybody has a copy of it, you can hold it up if you'd like. Um, in fact, I'm going to open up the screen, and we could do a full screenshot, so everybody can hold up a copy that they have. Okay, very good. Thank you. But it's very lovely. And how did you come up with the title? Why did you pick that particular poem? This is after a poem.
I like elephants.
You like elephants? Well, I'm kind of glad you picked it because I love elephants too. And I've had so much fun with the cover and creating the graphics to advertise the book. So much to the point I thought, gee, people they're going to think this is a whole book about elephants. But we found, there were so many there are a couple of elephant poems in the actual book. But anyway, we had a lot of fun with this. I've had such fun just reading the poems over and over. As when you do the editing of a book, you read it several times over. I could practically memorize it, but it's certainly worth memorizing. But it's probably one of the most fun covers I've ever worked on. And just kind of I thought, this is Nolcha. I'm going to have fun with this because Nolcha's a fun person, has a wonderful sense of humor. So I hope that she appreciates the cover.
I love it. I love it.
Had a lot of fun with that. Thank you. But is there another plan of another book that you got cooking?
Well, I do have some books in the queue in terms of what I might be cooking up. I have to actually thank Melissa and Barbara because we've been writing Rengays together and we are talking about putting a book together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Rendays.
Rengays, yeah.
I'm not sure I've done that particular form of poetry before.
Oh, we'll have to do that. Melissa, how would you like to describe it? Off mute?
Anna, there we go. Hi. Um, well, Renge, if you Google for, I think it's called Haikupedia, um, was started by, I think it's pronounced Jerry Gay, in California, and it's basically a collaborative haiku and response sequence, and it can be done with one person, two people, three people, six people, and we've even altered it to do four people. So the lines are different for each number of people, but it's basically 3 2 3 2 3 2 when Nolcha and Barbara and I do them. And it's just really fun capturing moments in time from different people's perspectives, I guess I would say is what it is. So you should do a
Oh,
workshop on it.
yeah, I have a feeling that Nolcha's going to be asking me to do that. She likes to ask me to do workshops on poetry forms I don't know, and that's how I learn them. She's an honor, actually. I love doing them. I absolutely love doing workshops, so no problem there. So, wow, I look forward to learning more about this. Sounds exciting. I know you've got a book coming out next year with Ken, and
Mhm.
because I'll be producing that one. And I'm looking forward to getting started on that project for next year. So, so you've got stuff going on in the works like crazy. How many
Yeah,
books do you produce each year?
God. Uh, sometimes three, sometimes four, typically.
Wow. Wow. How many hours do you think you write on poetry each day?
I probably spend an hour, maybe two at the most, writing poetry
Mhm.
every day.
That's a great dedication. Is there a certain set time that you do that in, or is it just when something hits you, the mood strikes you?
I'm very prompt driven. I typically write prompts. I love the diverse poetry pub prompts. Uh, there's, well, of course, I create my own prompts too in the Garden of Nero Institute. I write to those. And then and Melissa, you may have to correct me on this. David Bogoni, is that the right way of saying it? Is he does prompts? There's what do you see? There's a lot of prompts out there that are great fun. And then I also have been writing for Medusa's Kitchen for a couple of years, and she has two prompts a week.
Wow. Well, that's certainly good advice for people that are looking for some ideas on writing their poetry. Well, this is exciting. You have all kinds of. I'm a prompt driven person as well. I do have other things that come sometimes. Just you get that 4 o'clock wake up in the morning poem sometimes that I have to get up and write. But give me a prompt and I just go at it. I love it. You
Yeah.
see what kind of what happens. The surprises all the time. So I
Mhm.
appreciate your daily prompts. I don't write every day to them, but I write poetry just about every day. So, but yeah, I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming and supporting Nolcha today. And we're going to actually have some poetry readings here. But we have a couple of people that are going to be our guests between John and Peter to do some of the poetry readings. And we're going to start actually with John and ask him to read. He's going to read a couple of poems from the book Invisible and No Bluebirds here. And then he's going to feature one of his own poems. So, John, go right ahead. And thank
Okay.
you.
Can you hear me properly? First question.
I
Yes.
hear fine.
Okay. And I have to say, I've been publishing for 54 years now. My first book came out in 1970. Over the course of that time, I've encountered a lot of good writers, driven writers, and motivated writers, and I have not seen one the equal of Nolcha. She is as prolific and entertaining as anybody I've ever encountered. And I mean that. I mean that seriously. Um, I picked two. I got an early shot at picking poems from the book. And whoop, I just lost the page on bluebirds. Okay, I found it. And I picked two. Um, Invisible. You don't see me. My face is scuffed. Ignored again, a stray post-it, a scribble stuck to the floor, trod upon. Faded ink, faded life. The thing that I like about Nolcha's poems is she never tries to hit you over the head with what's going on in the poem. She gives you a little snapshot of life and moves on to the next thing. She leaves it up to the reader to figure out what's going on, and that's brilliant. Most aspiring writers, most new writers, and we were all new at one time, uh, say too much and try to explain too much. Nolcha doesn't. She just says just enough.
Thank you.
And she doesn't try to write the great big poem. For my money, the last great poem was Bukowski's Bluebirds. And she references Bukowski in this poem, Bluebirds. Um, and again, Nolcha doesn't try to say too much, explain too much. She just does the job and gets out of the way. And here's her poem, No Bluebirds Here. Once I had a bluebird in my heart until it crapped all over the place and left insect parts on the floor for the cat to eat. I let that bluebird out and haven't been sorry since. That's nice. That's a seasoned, talented writer just doing the job and moving on. That's what I like about Nolch's books. And they're all wonderful, wonderful pieces. Um, and I tried to get out of reading one of my own because I want this to be Nolch's day, but she insisted. Uh, so here's one I wrote 2 days ago. It's not in any of my books yet. Um, it's called He Loved. He loved spending time with her, especially when she'd decide to shut up for a minute. He didn't know what he liked more, her or the silence. You're lucky, she said. He rolled on his side and said half to the pillow and half to the wall, luck's nothing to be proud of. It was one of those days when the wind seemed to be talking and the sun hid behind a cloud. That's my poem, and thank you for having me here, and best of luck to Nolcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh,
John. That was wonderful.
I did want to just do a little advertising. Sorry, I don't know if you saw this. His latest book is Present Tense with Anxiety Press. And he'll say bye too.
By two, they're small.
Can you type the name of that book in the chat because you got cut off when you were given the title, and that way we also have a record of it.
Sure. John,
Thank
do you?
you.
Here, you do it.
Either way.
Okay, I will do it. It's called Present Tense.
John, you've really published a lot of books.
I've had, this is my 40th, and I've had 3 not counted among that 40 recently published in Europe. So, you know, that goes back to being a professional about what you're doing, and that goes back to my admiration for Nolcha. She's published a lot of work, and she's not one person to wait for inspiration. She's professional about it. She goes out and does the job, and I admire the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. That's wonderful. That's a wonderful compliment. Okay, Pete, you're up next.
And not to forget to unmute. Yeah, Nolcha and I met shortly after John and I met, and well, let's see, that was a year ago last summer, so it's been a little while, and with both poets, I have a writing friendship recently, like within the past half week, I'll say. Nolcha has offered me advice or comments that have been very helpful for my own writing. And she, like John, has enhanced my pleasure in the act of writing, and I think that's so important. You know that other people can help do that for you, and so I feel like I owe a debt to Nolcha, and I was happy to write a review of Words into Elephants, and I've got to keep track of. Has that been published, Nolcha? Do you know?
Yeah.
Tell. I have to, I keep accurate
I
documents.
published it.
Right.
Okay, there we go. Yeah,
It's on prolificpost.blog.
My copy of the book is in virtual form, an ebook. So what I did was, after I made my choice of poems to read, I printed them out as I did with one of my own poems. But uh, the advantage of having Nolcha as an ebook is I can literally read her while online at Walmart or someplace, the checkout line or the traffic jam, all of those good things. So I take her with me always.
Thank you, Pete.
And her poetry, I think I'd like to think I see quite a bit of your poems, Nolcha, and uh, they're all so different and they're so diverse in their style and subject matter, and I always look forward to them.
Thank you.
A surprise in every line, and so well done. Um, I've got two poems. Shall I read them now, Lisa?
Yes, please. Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. Um, the one is Broken Wheels. The motorcycle, the lawnmower crumble into rust, forgotten by dirt and grass, abandoned by history, by human touch. And the second one is called Fragments. Sunrise pokes through holes in lace curtains, fragments of bright in the shadows. Sunlight reflects in my ring's diamond facets, facets of bright in the gloom. And there we see that nice repetition with variation that Nolcha does so well. And for my own poems, I picked one that's not in a book yet. I think it may be in a one that's going to be published. Once again, I keep pretty accurate records, so I don't mind not knowing for sure. This is called The Suffering of Living Things. What about when it is preventable? What about when it could be lessened by people coming together who wish to see strays off the streets, sheltered, nurtured, adopted, to live out their lives with a kind touch? We can wish and wish and wish. The thing is to act because it's not impossible. The lessening of the suffering of those wandering lost that could, with a kind touch, be transformed. What pleasure in knowing you did that, we did that. Some will say it's not much. I disagree.
Thank you, Pete. I
Thank you.
really, I love your animal post, your post about different animals that are needing homes. I do that quite a bit as well. It's kind of a place in my heart. And so I think I found my kindred spirit now in
Oh,
sharing
yes.
the word about animals needing homes. So thank you. And thank you for reading this wonderful, wonderful
You're,
poem.
you're very welcome.
It speaks to your soul. Thank you. Okay.
And can I break in a minute? Because
Yes.
also his latest book is House Sitting. I hope I said that right because I'm sitting here looking at it backwards, right?
I'll sitting
There it
one.
is.
Yep. By Anxiety Press.
Thank you.
Worth the read. Definitely.
Perfect. Definitely. Okay. Our guest of honor, Nolcha. The floor is yours.
Okay. I had trouble choosing. I know that we've been promoting about 4 poems, so I had to come up with something else. So this is actually one of my favorites. It's called My Muse. My muse is gone. She left a note that she went shopping with the girls. I hope I didn't send her on another bender. My writing might be much worse than I think.
Love it.
And again, on the writing theme, it's called Murder for Hire. I hired free verse to kill every poetic form within a stanza's radius. The judge didn't care I was strangled by rules. He sentenced me to death by sonnet.
Love it.
Good one.
Does anybody here have a particular question that they'd like to ask Nolcha? John has his hand up.
Let me, I feel like I'm back in school here, so I raised my hand. Let me play devil's advocate here. And compared to what most people think of as poetry, traditionally, Nolcha's work is very, very different. So let me ask Nolcha, let me play devil's advocate here and have you tell us what makes your poems poetry?
Okay, I'm going to go out for coffee and think about that. What makes them poetry? I've had trouble defining my style. I really couldn't tell you even how I write, what I write. I really write free verse. I love having meter in my poems so that when you read it out loud, you hear almost like a drum beat. I love internal rhyme. I love having really, really short, almost statements, almost a capture of a moment. Um, I don't, I'm not, God, what's a good way to say this? I guess you could call my poetry sort of a kitchen table talk because I talk about everyday things. I don't talk about big ideas. I don't talk about science or society. Uh, I'm just trying to jump in, say something quickly, and hope everybody enjoys it.
May I say something? Do you have what I wrote you the other day when you asked me how I would describe your poems?
Oh, I do have it. I think you said something about jumping out of an eighth floor window and shouting yippee on the way down.
Yeah. And I called you a tightrope walker,
Yeah.
and in the best sense of the word. And poetry interesting and fun.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay. Ratiba, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, hi. I just want to say I've just discovered your poetry from your this book now, and I would like to say that I absolutely love it. No, but not everyone can write short verses or lines, and make that great impact. Actually, it's not easy for people to write. People do write a lot, and they don't edit enough, to concise a poem. But you have done it beautifully, and I love it. It's, like you said, their statements, they're impactful, they're very short. And like you said, you can read them anywhere just to give you that little buzz. I just read one and I absolutely love it. Like I swim in the sea. That one is very, very powerful because it could mean a lot of things. Do you want me to just read that one out?
Yes,
It's very
please.
short. So I loved it. It said, I swim in a sea of strangers, waves of joy crashing in this crowded room. That is open to interpretation. You could be in a club or a party or anywhere, like you could just, but your imagination is going wild already about what your words are already conveying. It's very beautifully done, and it is a skill that you execute really, really well. And I can't wait to read more of your stuff.
Thank you very much, Ratiba.
Thank you for reading that. That's really lovely. I do think that the Nolcha's poems do cause a person to kind of stop and think and reflect on what she's saying. That's why, and I like poems that are just really the short but strong, powerful poem like that. Makes all the difference in the world to me. Does anybody else have any questions?
Well, I have a statement
Okay.
based on what you just said. For me, good poetry, the poetry that I enjoy, works on two levels. You have the immediate response, the, oh yeah, okay, good, and you move on. Later on in the day, it hits you that, holy God, that's what she meant. And that's that second level is hard to achieve. And Nolcha hits that mark all the time.
Thank you, John. Yours do too.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Barbara, you have a comment in the chat. You want to share about that?
It's just by chance today I have two publications on Masticadores by Nolcha. One is a book promo about her mother's a book. The book is about her mother's death. Cancer isn't just a constellation. So you can check out that link that I gave if you want to see the book promo.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank
It's
you
a
for
really
sharing
good
that.
book. Again, short poetry, but holding a lot of feelings and grief and loss about her mother.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Barbara.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Barbara writes wonderful reviews of books. It's an honor when she writes a book review. Thank you.
I wish I could write more, but I'm working on other books right now.
Understandable.
Editing is taking so much time, and life. But
Well, your
yeah.
book together, this one here, Too
Oh
Much Fun to
yeah.
Be Legal, that
Yeah.
you and Nolcha did together. That's enjoyable. I
It's
really
yeah.
enjoyed this a lot.
It's a fun book. Yeah. Hi, John. John and Pete have done some reviews of that book. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
And I'm having fun where Nolcha, Melissa, and I are writing Renges, and Nolcha and I still collaborate. We're probably going to end up with another collaboration book in a while. Who knows? It would be great.
I would like to provide an opportunity to those who are here to maybe put a note in the chat for Nolcha, because I will save the chat and share that with her so that she has that as a remembrance of doing a book launch today. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share? Not necessarily have to ask a question, but anything they'd like to share?
Well, simply that it's good to be here with Nolcha and with you all as well. People that I correspond with regularly on Facebook mostly, and good to see and hear you,
Thank you, Pete.
and to be with new people too.
Thank you, Pete. I feel like you're becoming an old friend here. We're seeing you coming to the book launches, so we have to just start sending you links to all of them. Absolutely. Okay.
So I have things. I find Nolcha's poems to be, in addition to what other people have said, they're poignant, relatable. Um, they're they're funny, So she and I share this similar sense of humor, and it's been fun to collaborate with her because, I tend to labor over my poems, and I tend to do a lot of narration poems, and my book about my mom was very hard to write. But when I got together with Nolcha and her style and her ability to put things in capsules and let them go, you just write and let it go instead of lingering and chewing on a poem. It's good to let it flow, let it go, into the world, which is a good thing for me to learn. I really enjoyed that, so she's, just learning how to be wise and funny in a small space where, you don't have to write a treatise, you can say the same thing in a concise, cogent way. And so I like that. It helped me to move on and explore my own humor base. So
It's nice to see. It's nice to see humor in poetry. most people are infected. I almost said infested, but they're infected with the poet voice. You know what that sounds like, and they take themselves too seriously in their work. And it's nice to see Barbara, Pete, Nolcha, people writing funny stuff, poetry that doesn't reek of poet voice, and I really, really, really like that. So that's my final thought on today's book launch, and I
Yeah.
just wanted to say thank you for
Thank you.
having me here.
Thank you for coming.
And I agree. I think when I look at a lot of poetry today, it seems like I don't know, a lot of journals want a certain voice, where you are writing in that sort of expected poetic, high level poetic voice, which is good and beautiful. But I thought, gee, I'm not a very good poet. But then I thought, oh, you know what? My style's different, I offer something different. And I think that I'm really happy that so many books of Nolcha's are coming to fruition, where I know that she didn't start writing poetry 50 years ago. She's just boom, here she is, one book after another. And it's going to teach people that, to laugh and to relax. And, the poetic voice can be any kind of voice, and I don't always read funny poems. you know, and I enjoy writing poems that are funny. Even if they are about grief, they can be lighthearted and help people laugh about it. So I think John's point is correct and everybody's voice is fine. But the poets who are winning, maybe I don't know if I should even put poets in classes, groups and categories like I just did. But it seems to me that there is an expected way to write poetry in some cases. Do you guys agree, where people look at a poet and expect certain things from the poet, like, okay, this doesn't match what you would see in the Kenyon Review, therefore it's not good poetry or something, but it may be just fine. So I think it's good to have all kinds of poetic voices, and not to judge them too much one way or the other. But they're all important because they all come from a human soul, right? So that's
Good point.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, when I look at a poem, and especially I read a lot of poems because I read a lot of manuscripts. I look at would a person that doesn't know poetry understand what this poem is saying? I think that's real important because I think poetry should try to reach everyone, not just other poets' ears.
Oh, sure.
And then does it flow well? Does it, can you read through it without having to put on brakes as you go? Does it flow well? Does it have a certain rhythm to it? And is there some kind of thought or message that you might get from that poem? So those are some of the big criteria that I look at when I look at poetry, is considering whether I'm going to publish it or not. And there have been some cases where I've asked someone to take their manuscript back, make some suggestions, and then send it back to me. And I see wonderful transformations that come from that. Because maybe there's just one block from that happening, but I can see the potential that's there. Nolcha, on the other hand, which is really a smooth read, easy to understand, and able to get a message from her poems. And I'm also a big fan of the short form poetry, so that did not hurt either. So, and I also I love that Nolcha let me use some creativity in putting pictures in the book, and that she even inspired me to do a couple of drawings. So, I did the cow with crutches and the elephant on the couch. And that's probably the first time I've ever done that in anybody's book before. So now I'm working on a cover with art. So anyway, so she brought something out of me as well. So thank you, Nolcha, for making me want to
Thank
do
you,
that.
Lisa. Worked well for both of us.
I do need to ask you, Nolcha, to pick a number between, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8. 1 and 8.
Okay, how about 5?
Okay. So that would be Pete. Pete, you just won a paperback copy of the book.
Oh, great.
Yeah. You just need to send me your address so that I can mail it to you.
Yeah, should I send you that in Facebook or?
Yeah, you can just email me. You know my email, so
Oh,
just
yeah.
email it
Okay,
to me.
sure. Mhm.
Now, I would like to offer a copy of the ebook to everyone who's here. I know some people already have a copy of the ebook, but if you put your email into the chat, and if you want it to be private to me, just send me the private chat, and I will be sure that you get a copy of the ebook. So, and we're promoting it right now. It's 99 cents, so we're promoting it right now anyway. But if you want an opportunity to get the ebook, just like I say, just send me your email in the chat. Unfortunately, I think I can do that with UK and I can do that with US. Otherwise, it has to be, I can't do that. But, those are the 2 areas that I do have that covered in. So is there anybody else that has anything like to say or any more questions or anything before we bring things to a close?
One thing, since real writers, as we are, write to be read, my hope is that Words into Elephant sells more copies and is read by as many people as can be.
Absolutely. Definitely want that to happen, and it certainly has ranked well. And Amazon, the only ones that give us a ranking is Amazon, but it's ranked well, and so I'm really happy to see that happen. Well, thank you all for coming out today. Congratulations again to Nolcha for publishing this book. I look forward to what other shenanigans you're going to be up to next. Definitely going to have my own little private Nolcha library going here. So and I have a habit of buying both the paperback and the e-reader. So I double dip on all the books to make sure I have it at hand wherever I am. So, but thank you all so much for coming out today. Let's everybody open up your mics and give a round of applause to Nolcha.
Yay!
Congratulations.
And thanks again to John and Pete for reading today.
My
And you all have
pleasure.
a wonderful rest of your day and drive home carefully.
Drive home carefully.